Hi, everyone. So we're going to start today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us on our second What's Working webinar for our What's Working series. As you know, today is August 28th. Our agenda, we have two wonderful presentations today. We have from Micron Technology, Kathy Amarati from Micron Gibbs, STEM's Diversity Programs Manager, Community and Academic Relations, and from Talent Path, Melissa Peak, the Executive Director, Strategic Partnerships. As you know, our What's Working series is a collection of member practices that showcase some of our network's most promising and successful initiatives to close gaps in STEM talent development. These efforts do not achieve success without overcoming some hurdles, and we hope that all of our audience will learn from the obstacles of our members and the steps they've taken to surmount them, as well as be inspired by insights into the impact and larger implications of each of these initiatives. We will not have a question and answer portion during this webinar, but if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will direct them to the appropriate speaker. I hope you enjoy what we have in store today. Julie, if you want to kick us off.
Thanks so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julie Olson. I am the Vice President of Talent Path. First and foremost, we want to thank STEM Connectors for being such great partners and creating a platform for conversation around issues that are all very important to us. Today, I have Melissa Peak, who is my colleague, who's going to do a deeper dive on who we are, why we're doing what we're doing, and really kind of what's working and the value of Talent Path. So I will go ahead and kick it over to Melissa. Thanks so much.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Julie. What I love about Talent Path is it takes into account the fact that in order for something to be different, it has to truly be different. And so Talent Path launched in 2018. Really on a path to bridge the gap between what we were seeing happening in education and what employers were saying they needed. So if you can go to the next slide. So on the education side, a lot of these data points we have been all talking about for a very long time. So the fact that there's a mismatch on skills, we have major issues that we're talking about consistently around debt, people feeling like it wasn't worth it, potentially, for them to get a degree, parents frustrated, and the fact that even post-degree, many learners aren't in a position where they feel like they've truly launched. And so what we wanted to make sure that we built a solution for was millennials being able to truly come out of their four-year degree and have the skills that they need to launch successfully. And that was the original thinking. You'll hear as we go through this that this solution ended up also being a great solution for reskilling and recareering individuals. But originally, when we launched in 2018, it was really focused on this gap that we were seeing in the education landscape. And on the next slide, we really start to get into some of the issues that many of the folks on the phone are experiencing and also trying to solve. So the results of not having the skills employers needed one of the results is underemployment. Employers frustrated with the lack of skills, both hard skills as well as critical thinking skills. And we know through PayScale as well as Burning Glass data that when a graduate starts their career underemployed, it can have long-term impact. And we also know that that definitely does significantly adversely affect minorities. The long-term effect of being underemployed in your first job is more detrimental for minorities and women. So we set out and crafted a solution to really solve some of these issues. Maybe you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so what is Talent Path? Really, Talent Path is an intermediary designed to bridge the gap between the four-year degree and what employers need in early career or in entry-level leaders, new emerging IT leaders in select IT roles. So we know that we want to create talent that has both in-demand technical skills as well as soft skills. We also know that the cost to employers, many employers, the largest employers have money to create their own internship programs and they've built universities and hired people to bring people in and put them through a system that upskills them. But a lot of employers don't have that ability. So instead of them having to do it themselves, we can be a solution for them. We did want to create an environment where it was very low risk for employers to take on early career or re-careered learners into IT roles. And we have a commitment. We wanted to do all of this in alignment with our values. And one of our core values is our commitment to diversity and technology. And so you'll see as we go through here how some of that has played out over the past year and a half since this program launched. Next slide. So we are creating new talent in hard to fill positions, in in-demand roles. So software developers, data visualization, cloud developers, architects, Salesforce. We tailor focus and approach to close the gap on those specific in-demand positions. One of the things that I love best about the work that we're doing is we're taking the expertise of our parent organization, which is called Genuine. And Genuine's an a boutique IT staffing firm run by some of the giants of the staffing industry, the previous president of Manpower North America, other executive leaders who've been in staffing for a very long time, including Julie, who's on the phone. But we're able to take that expertise and the ability that they had built over so much time to identify great candidates and pivot that fundamental expertise to looking at who are people that have 80% potentially of the hard skills that they need to fill a role, but who we feel because of their grit, because of their fire in the belly and other factors that we want to make an investment in and that we feel like can be IT leaders down the road. And so it's really a formula where we take that staffing expertise, add into it real-time market trend data on the hard to fill jobs that employers are trying to find talent for and create a solution that works for employers. Next slide. And the results have been fantastic. So the first quote here is from a Houston-based customer. She was one of our first adopters of Talent Path way back in 2018. And this was some early signs of success. She came back to us and said Talent Path consultants really quickly, they stood out above and beyond others that were doing visualizations and had a lot more years of experience. But the Talent Path consultants have incredible poise as well as technical expertise. And so really quickly, the Talent Path consultants were given opportunity to be at the front of the room and to be presenting for very senior executives. And our training program, which I'll talk a little more about, really the second customer talks about the fact that we are instilling confidence in our partner employers that the people coming in who have the Talent Path brand are going to be able to not only do the work, but do it in a way that leaders can be confident in and that takes on that innovation, that leadership capability that so many companies are looking for. So the next slide kind of gets into how we're doing this. So here's how we work. So what we do is we either make a decision that we're going to be in a market because we know the market has a need, or if we have a specific employer who has told us that they've got a specific technology need that we're filling, we create a profile against which we recruit. And this recruiting process is quite exhaustive. So typically 2 to 3% of people at the front end up all the way through our process. So I mentioned before that we're looking for individuals who have baseline technical skills, which for the data visualization track means SQL and previous experience in analytics. We do technical screens. We look for that baseline skill sets upon which we're going to build once we hire them. But we also look for the capability to problem solve, and what challenges have they overcome in their lives? Why do they want to become a software engineer? Why do they want to become a data analyst? What about this role is interesting to them? What are they hungry to do with that skill? Through that process, we use assessments, we use personality assessments as well as skill assessments. We also spend a lot of time interviewing these individuals. We will pull together a group of 20 to 25 individuals that we are very confident have the ability to become software engineers or data analysts, business analysts, architects, developers, etc. And we hire them as Talent Path consultants. So they are on salary from day one. And the first thing that we do is we put them through a 12-week immersion training. So this is fully paid, they're on salary. This immersion training is run by a gentleman by the name of Jeff Fry, who is an executive. He was an IT executive who then transitioned to become an academic leader. So he has hired thousands of IT leaders. He was on he's been on several innovation projects, just finished his PhD at Case Western. So he knows both the need from the enterprise side as well as he's very familiar with the academic side of the house. And so he leverages trainers, subject matter experts. We have hundreds of people that we can tap into to address any skill gap. He leverages them in these 12-week immersions and really customizes these immersions each time. So the consultants are really going into a 12-week time frame where we're focused on three things. We focus on the technology, of course, but we also really focus on their professionalism, their ability to present, and then we give them a lot of training on the industry they're likely to be working in and around based on the geography that we're in. Of course, if it's a group that we're doing specifically for an employer, that information would be all about that employer. So at the end of the 12 weeks, then these folks have now been brought up to 100% in terms of their skill set in the select area. They also now have a lot of experience running projects. We get them presenting from week one. They have a lot of experience presenting and interacting in teams. And we then put them out on contract with partner employers. And they remain out on contract projects with our partner employers for the rest of the 2 years that they are a Talent Path consultant. And at the end of that 2 years, the employers that are our partners are able to engage that talent directly with no conversion fee. Throughout the whole process, we are empowering and equipping these consultants to not only have a job, but really have a career. So because of the way that we source, we end up with incredibly diverse populations. I'll show you a slide on that here in a moment, but we also have quite a few learners who are first-generation college students. So they don't have built-in networks of leaders to tell them, here's how you navigate this situation. So we're able to bring in Talent Path leaders in the immersion training, but we also bring in CIOs, chief technology officers, head of strategy from major firms to speak to the consultants, share their experience, everything from how they navigated their career to how they developed the skills to lead at the intersection of, which is really where many IT leaders are, really in the intersection of so many different operation groups. And so at the end of the 2 years, these individuals are very well positioned to go on and get a role with another firm now as an experienced talent. And they also now have incredible experience and a network that is much broader than it was when they started 2 years prior. Both a network of consultants across the country. We have consultants in Houston, LA, and DC today, and we're continuing to grow and expand. So that is one layer of a network. But because they've been exposed to executive leaders, they also have an executive network that they're able to tap into as they launch their careers. And if you can go to the next slide, this makes me really excited as an advocate for first generation, as well as somebody who's done a lot of work in veteran hiring, as well as diversity initiatives. So you can see from an ethnicity perspective, our consultants are incredibly diverse. We're very proud of that. We also have gender diversity. So across the country, 35% women, 65% men. I will tell you, in DC, which is a group that we recently launched, it's 50% men, 50% women. That's a business analyst group. It's really exciting to see that group work together and solve problems with not only incredible ethnic diversity, but also that level of gender diversity. We're also seeing, because we're sourcing for grit, that we have a lot of veterans that are coming through the door. And so far, the data so far has been without intentionally partnering with veteran sources. We're now adding that into our model, but even without intentionally recruiting from veteran resources, we've got 6% of our consultants who've got previous military experience, and many folks who are coming to us from different degrees and pivoting their careers into a new IT area. I will say that the trend lately has been about 2/3 of our consultants are within the first 3 years of college graduation, and 1/3 of them are reskilling, whether it's women who've been out of the workforce to caregive, or it's a veteran coming back, or somebody who's spent the first decade of their career in another industry and has built the capability to pass the baseline tech screen, and has also, alongside of building those skills, built a passion. And so now they're doubling down to become more specialized in these areas of technology. And so we have some great success so far with equipping people who are reskilling and re-careering. So it's an exciting moment. And we know that in order to do something different has to be done. We're excited at the early data and the early results that we're seeing. And I know me personally I've worked with companies now for 20 years. What's most interesting to me, the consultants are amazing, which is fabulous. But what's really interesting to me is the ways that companies are really challenging the status quo and going to their contracting departments, going to their procurement departments, and asking the questions that really require frank conversation around, is this operational? Is the way we're doing things really helping us achieve success? So that's what's really exciting to me as I see innovation happening across the country with the employers that we're working with. And thank you so much, Ashley and Alexa, for allowing us to share Talent Path with this amazing group.
Thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you, Julie. That was super informative, really great. And if anyone on this webinar has any questions, please put them in the chat, and I will make sure that Melissa gets them.